everybody else's needs. So what you need to do is decide either instantaneously or better yet in advance, these are the things that I'm going to safeguard. Now, if your power is still running on your Sub-Zero, then yeah, you don't have to do anything at that time. But when the power gets cut off, you have to decide, am I going to power this Sub-Zero, built in with my generator, with my whole home generator, or am I going to triage and take just the most important food, not my artisanal ice cream, but the meats, the cheeses, the things that are going to keep you alive, and your prescriptions. A lot of prescriptions need to be refrigerated. You don't want those to spoil for obvious reasons. So if you have a garage fridge, that does two things. One is those are generally a lot more efficient. They draw a lot less power. Secondly, they're a lot easier to hook up to a generator or a portable power station like Laura has, or to run it from your car using an inverter, which connects to the battery, and then you run your car, and that runs the same as a generator, a portable generator, but it's got a much larger gas tank and it's got much fresher fuel. So these are kind of quick summaries of what you can do for power generation. We had a separate presentation on power generation in depth with solar, with the car inverter, with a gas generator, with a solar inverter. If we have time, I'll show you the solar panel that Robert and I have. And there's also that solar oven out there, that silver like satellite looking dish. And I can never go through a whole presentation without showing that thing off because it's still my favorite.
Later, right?
Yeah, everybody's lunch is in there. Yeah, no. So anytime you can preserve fuel, which is not a replenishable resource in an emergency, the better. So when you can use solar over stored fuel, stored propane, that's better. Because every gallon of fuel you use is 1 gallon you have less, and you're not going to likely be able to go fill up because the gas stations, most of them are not on backup power. And even if you can, it's going to be chaos out there. It's not safe. And you could be wasting a lot more fuel driving from station to station to see which one is operable, which has access, and which is actually safe enough to use. So step 2 is decide and assess which appliances are accessible and operational. So just because you can get to your freezer doesn't mean it's going to work, or vice versa. So I prefer a deep freezer. They're really efficient, and it buys you extra time, because if your meats are frozen versus just refrigerated, you're buying yourself extra time as it thaws. And the meats will last much longer when they're frozen versus just refrigerated. So start making the decision over the next few weeks. Does it make sense to invest in a garage fridge? Does it make sense to invest in a garage deep freezer? I have one in the little seating area outside my house, so it's right next to the kitchen, so I just open the double doors to get something out of that. When meat goes on sale, I stock up. Prices are only going one direction for the near future, and especially with fuel. But there's a chicken shortage. They had to euthanize a bunch of chickens. It's just, don't ever read the news if you want to be put into a good mood. So things are bad and they're getting worse in the near future. So if you can stockpile food, or better yet, freeze-dried foods. Now that's another presentation we talked about, but there's an advantage to storing freeze-dried over just canned or anything else, is that there's several advantages. It's extra light. You don't have to waste weight and storage on the water. And does anybody know what the shelf life of Mountain House Pantry is?
25
years. Yeah, 25, 30 years. Right? So it's going to mostly outlast you. And it is rock solid. I mean, not literally, but it's bulletproof in terms of what you can do with it. You can drop it out of a third-story window. It's in its own package, and you just add water. If you can heat the water, you can use a solar oven, or even if you can't heat the water, it replenishes the moisture and it becomes a meal in about 10 minutes.
What was the brand again?
I like Mountain House Pantry,
Yeah.
But if you go on Amazon, you'll see that they're frequently out of stock on most of them, and that's just unfortunately getting worse as well. So decide how you'll power the appliances that are accessible and operational. And Laura has a generator here. There is an advantage to having a gas generator because it does produce so many watts, but these portable power stations are quickly becoming a viable alternative, and they have several unique advantages over a gas generator. One of them is you can recharge them indefinitely, over and over again. And it has AC outlets. You can power a fridge if you get a high enough wattage. It has 4 USB on this one. And the 12 volt is actually really useful because you can get the 12 volt adapter for your car that adds, 3 USB-C outlets. And it's a very fast charging capability. So everything that's electronic should be rechargeable, either with a built-in battery or reusable, rechargeable individual batteries. Don't store just standard disposable batteries. Those are going to let you down. They're probably going to leak. And then once you've used them up, you got nothing left. Rechargeable batteries that are individually rechargeable, you can charge them from a solar panel. You can charge them from a generator. Obviously, you can charge them from your car. So USB, everything. Like whenever you can find something that's USB, that is ideal because it gives you such versatility in charging methods. And it's DC to DC, so you don't have to waste energy inverting AC to DC like you do with the standard rechargeable battery units where you plug in like the 4-door cell, you plug it into the wall. That's really inefficient. You're better off when you can use a brand like Pale Blue Earth, which actually have their own USB charging plugs within each one. And it comes with a 1 to 4 USB cable. So you're just using one outlet to charge all 4 batteries at once. And again, you're charging anywhere you go. When you go overseas and you don't want to worry about voltage conversion, it's very simple, very easy. And then that 1 to 4 charging cable is useful for your other USB devices because you can charge 4 devices at once in most cases. So if you can get a power station like Goal Zero is one brand I recommend. EcoFlow, Robert and I have the EcoFlow Delta Pro, and that thing is cutting edge. So a few advantages on that one. You can charge it from an electric vehicle charging station if those are operable. A lot of those are actually on battery power, like the Tesla superchargers generally run from solar to battery. That's how they're able to charge at night. And in less than 2 hours, you can go from 0 to 100%. So think about the advantage of that over a regular gas generator, where you're stuck with the gas that you stored. And what a lot of people figure out every time they have to run their generator, they aren't able to start it because the gas now has so much ethanol in it that it gums up the fuel lines. So you have to be running your generator at least once a quarter or storing very expensive fuel from like Home Depot that's ethanol free. There's a lot of headaches to it. There's a lot of maintenance. There's a lot of problems, and it's really inefficient because you're generally using more or less the same amount of fuel regardless of what kind of load you have on it. I mean, it does change. It does use quite a bit more when you have a full load, but an electric power station, just like a Tesla, when you're idling a Tesla, it's using basically no energy. When you floor it, it uses a proportional amount. On a car, you're idling, it's going to continue to use that consistent amount of gas, similar to a generator. It's very efficient to use these electric power stations, and you can hook up as many solar panels as you want. So you really can't overdo it. You can just, okay, go ahead.
I gotta go.
Yeah, go ahead, Kurt.
How long do those hold a charge if you have them like sitting in the corner?
About a year. Yeah. So the new lithium ion, the phosphate, they're extremely reliable. And these aren't the cheap power banks that, explode on Southwest. These are expensive for a reason. So if you're just going by cost, the price per wattage of a gas generator is always going to beat a portable battery-based power station. But what you're not considering when you just look at the upfront cost is how it amortizes that cost. Every time you charge it through solar, instead of 5 gallons of fuel, which that's about $5 a gallon, it's going to go up from there now. It's starting to pay for itself, similar to the solar panels on your roof. Huge upfront cost, but every time you use it, it's paying for itself. So those are things you can't do with a regular gas generator. Once you're out of gas, you're done. Emergency air conditioning. So I know Coco will never need this because she's always cold, but
Not bad.
yes.
I bought it.
Yeah.
The fans that have the water. Right.
Yes. So Laura has one of those, and what that is it's a rechargeable fan. And I don't know if you can see, is the cursor showing up over here? I know it's kind of dark, but
Yeah, he's going to bring it in.
oh, cool. So that is a portable misting fan. and you get a 5-gallon bucket, you fill it with water, and you have a fan that pulls the water out of the bucket using its own power, rechargeable battery, and you're just cooling that area you're in. And that's key whether you're trying to heat or whether you're trying to cool. You don't need to heat the entire environment. You just want to heat the closest, most localized area possible. You're trying to preserve the amount of fuel, whether you're heating, which is why I don't recommend using a propane heater. You're going to be using up that propane, which would be much better used for cooking your food, and you're going to lose most of it to the ambient air. With cooling, you can use a rechargeable fan like this. That's another option besides that misting fan. And during the summer months, I keep this on for my pets. And some of you know Steve and Ned. Some of you know Steve and Ned very well. Yeah. And there's the misting fan. All right. So that has its built-in water reservoir, and it puts out a tremendous amount of relief when it's scorching outside. And these things shouldn't just be for that one-off apocalypse. Like, having these things will make your life more comfortable when you entertain, when you go to a picnic, tailgate party, if you go camping. These shouldn't just be for that zombie apocalypse that never comes, because you want to get familiar with the operations, with the limitations now, before you're forced to learn and you can't look it up on YouTube or call the tech support line or go back to Target or ship it back to Amazon. You're on your own. So now is the time to almost try to break things, because you can fix and repair. You want to find out what the weaknesses are, which is why we in the EPC try to do drills and we try to bring ourselves to the comfort zone and slightly beyond. We want to see what the failure points are now before we figure them out the hard way.
Can I ask
Yeah, go ahead.
a question? It seems to me that it would give us an opportunity if we had a large number of people that wanted to buy the same thing, that we could get discounts.
Yep.
Is that possible? And how would we arrange
It's
that?
yeah, we've done that before. So remember when we bought the tasers, I was able to get the group a discount. And does anybody have a taser?
I do.
Yeah, good. Okay. Is anybody interested in me talking about it for 30 seconds?
Sure.
Yeah. All right. I heard it yes and no, so I don't know. So real quick, these are considered less than lethal self-defense, and you don't need to have a license. They're legal even in California, and what it does is it immobilizes the person. Now, nothing is foolproof. Nothing is completely safe.